Hey guys, so today's video is going to be kind of a mashup of a tutorial and kind of like a tag video and maybe like a story time. Today we're going to be doing a look using only old school products. Old school to me is going to range from around 2011 to about 2015. I think the newest product that I use in here came out in 2015. I thought this video would be kind of fun to make because I feel like most of what we do here on YouTube is talk about all that new, and sometimes in our stash we have perfectly wonderful products that we just kind of forget about from time to time because we're constantly buying new stuff. I used a bunch of stuff in this video that I haven't tried in a very long time. Some of it still is amazing to me, some of it not so much, so you'll have to stay tuned to see which is which. Also, I decided to take the opportunity, since we're kind of taking a stroll on memory lane, to talk about kind of a little bit of my makeup journey and kind of how I got into this and why I'm on YouTube and what I did before YouTube, and definitely like a Reader's Digest version of how this all came to be because the story is very long. There's a lot of other stuff that's happened, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of bad stuff, and if you ever want me to do a whole video on that, I can, but I don't know, thought it'd be kind of fun to just get really nostalgic up in this piece. Also, I'm not naked. I have a shirt on right now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe if you have not. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell because I keep getting messages from you guys being like, I didn't know you were filming again, and when did this video come out, and this, that, and the other. YouTube is just kind of being like that about it, so now if you want to really stay up to date with what I do, you have to be on the notification squad. I'd be happy to have you. Anyway, make sure you check the down bar for links to all my social media platforms. Come hang out with me there, and let's just get right into the video. Okay, so today we are doing a full face using all old school products, and old school for me at this point is going to be anything that I either use personally or was really popular from about, we'll say like 2011 to 15 would be the absolute latest. In the beauty community, I feel like we change our products up so much that like all these things that once upon a time we were all completely obsessed with and thought were just like the greatest things since sliced bread, just don't get used very much or brought out anymore. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to kind of play with some old stuff I used to really like, or old products that used to be really popular, and see if they still stand up to the things that I'm into now. If I'd ever consider bringing them back into my routine, maybe we'll just have some yucks. I don't know, we'll see what happens. So the only exceptions to the entire video that are not like old school products are my brows, because my brows are my brows. I'm not going to switch that up. And my lashes, because back in the day, or at least when I first got into makeup for a long time, I was really into mink lashes, and I would absolutely never use another mink lash in my life. They actually disgust me. So I won't do that just for the sake of a video. The first thing I'm going to do is conceal underneath my brows. This is a Temptu concealer wheel. It's what I've been using for my brows on myself and on my clients for a really, really long time. I do believe once upon a time I used to use MAC's pot concealer. I can't remember the name of it, but I think we all went through that phase. I don't know if you guys did. I know I definitely did. Went through that phase where I would put concealer underneath my brow the same way I'm doing right now, but I would also put it on top of my brows. And done correctly, that can be a really beautiful way of accenting your brows, making them look a little bit higher, a little more arched, a little bit more clean and precise. But done unwell, all it does is create this really unflattering like halo effect around your brows, and I was definitely one of the people who did it unwell. I used to get so much crap about it on YouTube when people were just like, why don't you blend that concealer out? Like, it was so harsh, and looking back on it now, it absolutely makes me cringe. Most of where I used to really mess up my makeup was my brows. Like, that might be true with most people actually. Brows are just so difficult to get right. I used to, when I had blonde hair especially, oh my gosh, when I look back at the pictures of my brows when I was blonde, it absolutely horrifies me. I really didn't put any color on my brows, like at all, because I didn't really understand like how to do my brows when I was blonde. I had never been a blonde in my life. So what I would do is I would like lightly fill them in with like an ashy blonde color, and I would take a dark brown eyeshadow on like a flat brush and just define the underside. It looked so bad. So for primer, I'm going to use MAC Painterly Paint Pot. I feel like this was everyone's first primer. That's not true. I think my first primer was Urban Decay Primer Potion in the clear formula because they didn't have all the colors at the time. It was like one of the first high-end products I ever bought, and like once I bought that stuff, I just could not believe the difference in my eyeshadow application and how long it lasted. It was just like a game changer. I think the first time I ever got it was like I bought a Urban Decay palette. It was the I Love New York one. I actually showed it in a video a long time ago, my eyeshadow palette video. I'll link it up here. And it came with a free primer potion. And I used it and I was just like, mind blown, never going back. That will be something I will buy no matter how broke I am. I don't care. Alright, so now I have that on, my primer's on, and I'm going to lightly set my eyes using the RCMA No Color Powder. This is an old school product for me too. Well before I started using this on camera, and as before everyone else got all about that RCMA No Color Powder life, I was using this on clients because having this kind of a powder is the most inexpensive way to stock powder in your kit because there's no color to it. You don't have to buy like 4 or 5 different types of setting powder to encompass all these different skin tones. Like this is such an old school, like super famous makeup artist product, and I always get really tickled when I see like professional makeup products or professional makeup techniques show up in the YouTube and Instagram world. Okay, I really did not know what to do today for eyeshadow, not even just in terms of my eyeshadow look, but I really didn't know what to pull for in terms of old school makeup. But then I kind of sat down and watched some old videos and I thought about it, and like back in the day, especially when I first got into makeup, the first eyeshadows I really cared about were single shadows, and they were MAC shadows. And then shortly after that, I got into Makeup Geek shadows, and then it was Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows. So I figured we could get old school and go back to pulling for single shadows. So I just grabbed some palettes that I have pre-made full of single shadows. I'm also gonna try not to do like the most boring look in the world that I've done a million times. I'll try to find a way to mix it up a little bit, but since I'm using old products, things are probably gonna be a little similar. I'm gonna start off using the most loved, like obsessive, once I found it, I saw the light eyeshadow in the world, and that is Soft Brown from MAC. Soft Brown was really that first eyeshadow that I ever bought that really like showed me the light in terms of how to use color on the eye in a much more natural or neutral way. Because honestly, when I first got into makeup, started doing it and got really serious about it, I only ever did like bright colors. It could be because at the time we're thinking like this would have been 2011. There was like a big thing going on with like celebrities and music videos and fashion where like neon and bright colors were super in. Everything looked very 80s. Like bright green, bright pink, bright blue, purples, wearing all of the colors on my eye at one time. Like that's what I was really into. That's kind of how I started learning how to blend. So once I discovered like neutrals and kind of had to learn how to create neutral looks for clients, it was hard for me. I felt like really stifled, and then I really wasn't finding anything that I loved. I felt like everything looked really ashy and cold, but Soft Brown, my friend, that pulled me right out of that rut. All right, I'm gonna hop over to another once upon a time favorite shadow in this world, and this is Cocoa Bear by Makeup Geek. I feel like Makeup Geek is one of those companies that really changed makeup in terms of like a consumer experience forever. Prior to Makeup Geek, I don't remember there being any companies really that sold individual eyeshadows except for MAC. Keeping in mind that I got into Makeup Geek pretty much immediately. I had been watching Marlena on her channel for years before I got into makeup. The first makeup videos of hers that I saw, she was recreating Britney Spears' I'm a Slave for You look, and she used like a Coastal Scents palette. All these colors, and I'd never seen anything like that. Like, you have to bear in mind where I grew up in like the area, I grew up in Georgia. I'm from Georgia, but yeah, if y'all don't know. There wasn't a Sephora, there wasn't a MAC, there was none of those things. Like, I had never been to a Sephora or even knew of its existence, really. Anyway, when she came out with her shadows, I was just like over the moon. I had collected a nice little bit of MAC eyeshadows because I was using it in my makeup kit. And I still love Makeup Geek. I don't show them as much love as I used to, but she still is running an incredible brand. Going back into MAC, I'm gonna take this color called Brown Down. I'm gonna do browns and reds and warm tones. Very 2014. I remember when I first started trying to get in to makeup and like get good at it, my eyes were not only the thing that I wanted to get good at the most, but it was also the thing that I thought I would never ever figure out how to do. It was to the point where I was just like, I just guess I'm not one of those people who gets to wear eyeshadow. Like, I had one look that I knew how to do from when I was really young. Like I told you, when I first discovered YouTube, I found this YouTube channel. I don't even know if it still exists now. I couldn't tell you the name of it anymore. Video showing me how to do a black smoky eye, and I took that and I ran with it. Like, I'm talking from about 2007 until 2011. Literally, I think I wore a black smoky eye pretty much every time I did my makeup. And it was black like in the middle of the day. If I was going to lunch, I had a black smoky eye. Like, it was crazy. I would have matte black all over my lid. I got all these colors from Loreal. It's all I could afford and the only thing I knew of. It was like a black matte shadow all over my lid, and then I would take like a really metallic silver and pop it in my tear duct, and I would blend the black out with a shimmery brown color, and oh my god, it was so bad, but I just thought you couldn't tell me anything. I'll have to go through it though. Like, I guess all these young kids now get to skip that stage. I had to go through my Dee Snider phase. I don't know why everyone else doesn't have to, but whatever. I'm gonna take a little bit of concealer to start cutting my crease, but I'm not gonna tell you which one because we're not there in the look yet, but it's the same one I'll be using later on to actually conceal my face. So I just cannot talk while I'm doing this, but if you guys want me to do like a dedicated cut crease video similar to the other eyeshadow blending videos I've done, I'd be very happy to do it for you, but for now, you're just gonna have to like watch and learn. I don't really know. I don't really know what I'm doing anyway. I don't do this very much, but it takes a lot of concentration. Just gonna start blending into that concealer so that the color that I place on my lid isn't like super duper harsh. I'm going to take this foiled shadow from Makeup Geek called Magic Act. Do you guys remember when these came out? It was such the biggest deal in the whole world. I mentioned on Snapchat that I might take the time in this video to either kind of roast my old makeup pictures, which we've already started doing, and or talk a little bit about how I got into the makeup industry. I spent the beginning of my career as an actual professional makeup artist. I had clients, I did photo shoots, I've been published, I've done fashion shows, I've actually done some celebrity stuff, like I've been to makeup school. I have a lot of experience as a pro MUA. Most of that took place when I still lived in Vegas. I lived in Vegas for almost 4 years. I went to school in Vegas. I went to school at a place called Elle Makeup Institute. By the time I went to school in Vegas, I had already started working on my portfolio. I already had a little bit of a kit going on. I didn't go to makeup school like day one, starting to learn how to do makeup. I learned how to do makeup prior to makeup school through YouTube. Makeup school for me was a good experience. I recommend that if you can't afford to do it, that you should absolutely take some sort of training, especially so you can learn things about sanitation practices, how to deal with clients, because there's a whole nother end of makeup artistry that has nothing to do necessarily with the actual application of makeup on other people. Makeup school was a really cool experience just because it was so fun for me at that time every day to wake up and get dressed and go to school and talk about makeup all day. Once I got out, I immediately started looking for photographers, and I used a website called Model Mayhem to do that. I don't know if people still use that website to do that particular thing anymore, but the way I was using it was just to look for local photographers in Vegas because that was step one. And I feel like that's what really helped my career for the longest time when I was freelancing full-time, was that I was always shooting. Like, my typical week when I was freelancing full time was I would gig 3 or 4 days a week, whether it was weddings or if it was fashion shows or if it was special event or whatever. I was gigging at least 3 or 4 days a week. Some days I would work from sun up to sundown on clients, literally 12-hour days. The days that I wasn't gigging, I was shooting. And I got really lucky in Vegas pretty much immediately after completing makeup school. And I met my very, very, very good friend, my bestie, Tiffany Fortier. I will leave her information down below. I don't know if she does photography so much anymore. I know she does Twitch, like video game, but she's so ridiculously talented. Like, she's so young and her work is incredible. Once I met her, we became like best friends immediately. I had known her my whole life. We would just sit there, I would come to shoots early and we would just talk, and I would stay late and we would talk, and every day we'd be on Facebook messaging each other or texting each other. So I'm very much so obsessed with her. She was so funny and fun, and her vision and her talent was just unreal. So we would shoot 2 times a week at least. So I would be constantly working on my portfolio. If I wasn't shooting with her, there was other photographers in the area that I worked with, and I developed a good relationship with a lot of the top models in Vegas at the time, and I worked with them all the time. So like I said, it was either shooting, gigging, or I was posting pictures to Instagram, or I was blogging, or once I got my YouTube channel, I was doing YouTube. So for me, in the beginning of my career, for a good almost 3 years, I just never took a day off. Like, once in a blue moon, I would slow down and take a day off here and there, but I really just worked myself to the bones, which blew up in my face. By the time I left Vegas, which we left Vegas because I was just done. I was done. Tiffany was leaving. I didn't want to be there anymore. I wasn't sure if I wanted to freelance anymore. There was a time there around 2015, to be honest, when I thought I was going to give up makeup completely. Instead, I moved back to Georgia because we owned a house there, so we were going to kind of go to Georgia and figure out what our next move was going to be. I'm taking Nylon from MAC, by the way. That's a real big oldie and goodie, don't you say? All right, hold on, backing up a little bit. I started, like, first video I ever posted like 2 videos in 2013. I kind of started getting into it a little more in 2014. I basically stopped altogether in 2015, and 2016 was like the year of my YouTube career so far that I've dedicated the most time to it. This video isn't like 5 hours long. I'm sorry if it is. Oh, okay, so yeah. In 2015, I'm trying to start working at MAC, but the hiring process was taking forever. Like, I went to the 2 interviews, I got the job, I had to go to Atlanta to train for a while. That was taking weeks. I needed money, so I went back to bartending. Now, I had worked in makeup retail once before. I'm gonna use Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara from Loreal. Oldie, goodie. I had worked retail for makeup once before when I was in Vegas in 2013. I got a job working at Inglot, which is a makeup company. I hated it. I hated every second of it. I was irritated because I felt like it was one of those situations where my coworkers, for the most part, like, treated me like, well, the new girl will do it. Then, like, they would just hide out in the back, and I would have to stay up front and do, like, pretty much all the bitch work. I would get up every day to go to work, no matter what time of day I had to be there, and I would do, like, all these elaborate, crazy makeup looks because we were told, you know, you have to wear the product, show off your artistry, get customers interested in what you're doing. I would do that, and, like, nobody else would. They would come to work and, like, go in the bathroom and put their makeup on in 10 seconds. So I just kind of felt like, I don't like this. I'm not making a lot of money. I'm certainly not making any friends. I just wasn't happy, so I quit. Now, I thought working at MAC might be different because I just did. I don't know why. I can't speak to what working at MAC is like because I didn't end up doing it. But once I went through all the interview processes and got the job, I was already kind of on the fence over whether or not I wanted to do it in the first place. But then, because everything took so long, I just was like, forget it. I'll just bartend because I need money. Sorry if the story's all over the place. I'm just kind of doing it off the top of my head. 2015, I bartended for a year, like I said, and then I quit like first month of 2016 to do so because I'd always loved bartending. prior to doing makeup. That's why I did it for so long. But that particular job was just such a bummer. Like, it was just awful. The owners were awful. The manager was awful. It was awful. So I was absolutely psyched. Quitting that job and focusing on YouTube in 2016 was the first year that I focused solely on YouTube. During that time, I still did some gigs here and there because even now, you know, 2 years later, I do YouTube pretty much full time, but I always am down to do professional makeup again. Like, I just love it. I love doing photo shoots. I love putting makeup on other people. I love everything about that process. YouTube is kind of where I see my career, at least like kind of starting. I don't know what I want to do long term. Every time I think I figured out what I want to do, I change my mind. And that kind of brings us up to speed. I mean, 2017 was not the most positive year I've ever had in my life. In fact, I didn't work very much at all in 2017. I had so much going on in my personal life that it basically made it impossible. I did some photo shoot work and some wedding work in 2017 when I first moved to Tennessee because Nashville was like right there. Now I'm focusing on YouTube full time again, and depending upon how I'm feeling in the future, I might go back to freelancing. I might stay on YouTube. I'm even thinking about getting my esthetician's license so I can start working in salons as a makeup artist. That way I can open my own one day. Like, I do know one thing for sure, that makeup is always going to be my career, like in some capacity. Go ahead and prime. I'm using Benefit PoreFessional. This was the first high-end primer I ever bought in my life because my pores, if you guys know anything about me and my channel, my pores are just like the bane of my existence, so I was always trying to figure out how to fill them in, and wow, this works better than I remember. I remember not using this very much once I started trying new things because I didn't think it worked super great, but I guess I don't remember it working this well. Makeup Forever HD foundation. This was the first high-end foundation I ever bought. I remember watching YouTube back in the day, way before I could ever afford any of this stuff, like in a million years could never afford it. I just remember these girls talking about this foundation that was $40, and I was like I couldn't even compute. It made no sense in this world to me why anyone could afford it, would want to afford it, would, even if they could afford it, spend that kind of money on foundation. And here I am many years later, and I must own 50 foundations that all cost around this much. When I was in makeup school, this was the foundation that we had in our kit, and I've just got a lot of experience with this, and no matter how much time has gone by, it's just consistently like a solid product. It's just one of those foundations that, like, if somebody was like, I want to buy my first high-end foundation, I would almost always recommend this. I just think it looks good on everyone. There's so many colors in Makeup Forever HD, and there always has been. They've been really good about having a good shade range. Beauty blenders, by the way, does anyone remember their first beauty blender? My first beauty blender, I think I ordered it in 2011, and I just remember being like, how and why and how did anyone do anything before this? Like, it was just the most amazing product or tool or whatever. In fact, as far as the makeup game is concerned, I would say that the beauty blender might be the single greatest invention ever. Outside of like eyebrow pencils. I don't know, it's just like the best. I'm super orange right now, but once I go in with my highlighting concealers and stuff, that will calm down. I'm gonna go ahead and contour using the Smashbox step-by-step contour sticks. At the time when these came out, they were not a favorite of mine, but that's because at the time, cream contouring was just flat out not a favorite of mine. This whole getting into cream highlighting and contouring bit I've been doing is a very recent thing, but I don't see it going away anytime soon, so deal with it. I'm gonna take, ta-da, MAC Pro Longwear. Do you guys remember when this was the only concealer? This was the only gig in town. It's the only one anyone used, anyone talked about, anyone favorited, raved. Before Tarte Shape Tape, before Urban Decay Naked, this was all we were working with. And I haven't used it in such a long time that I'm interested to see if it's still is as good as I remember it being. So I'm just gonna mix NW20 and NW25 together. Hopefully this isn't super light. It looks like it's gonna be. Woo! Let there be light! Speaking of being the only gig in town, this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit. Like the first, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like this was the first contouring and highlighting product to come out ever. Miss Anastasia and Norvina definitely created a phenomenon with this bad boy. So I'm just gonna set the areas of my face that I highlighted very lightly using this because I'm gonna bake as well. Hello Flawless from Benefit. You guys, this was the first high-end powder I ever bought many moons ago. And funny story, one thing about this that I will never forget, beautiful powder and it's extremely soft, but that's almost the problem with it. I bought my first Benefit Hello Flawless powder, I want to say it was like 2011, early 2011, because I just wanted to try something high-end. When I first got into buying high-end makeup, I didn't buy like a lot of stuff at once. I would just buy like one thing here or there and just see how it compared to like drugstore versions of things that I was using. So this was the first high-end powder I decided to try, and I just remember loving it. I thought it was so beautiful and pretty, but it's like crazy soft. So I had this in my purse one day and it shattered, like completely shattered into smithereens, but it was like $30 and I didn't have that kind of money for makeup. So what I did was take like a big Ziploc bag. It's the only thing I had around the house, and I put this in there so that when the powder kind of came out of it and broke all over the place, I could still get the powder out. And I just remember going to like the bar or going to like on a date with a dude and like having to excuse myself to go touch up my powder, and I'm just like in the bathroom opening the Ziploc baggie, and it was so ridiculous. 30 bucks, I wasn't going to waste it. So yeah, still a nice powder, but it's not one that I would ever take anywhere ever because it breaks super easy. This is the Mercier translucent powder. This is all they had at my local Sephora when I went shopping the other day, so that's why I'm gonna use this one. But I remember when this guy was like the ticket in town. She was the biggest deal. I haven't used her in a long time. I've since discovered lots of other powders for baking and other things, but I figured why not do it anyway, because we're kicking it old school. Just gonna go ahead and apply this in all the areas that I'm gonna bake. So for sure, something I use under my eyes, I don't know if it's the concealer, I don't know if it's the Anastasia powder, or if it's this powder, or the primer, or what. But something that I've used underneath my eyes are making my pores look really massive. And it's a way I haven't seen my skin look in a really long time. So I'm not sure which thing it is, but that's just where I am right now. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly do my lash line. Also, I humbly ask you guys not to judge me on the current state of the shirt I'm wearing. I don't know about y'all, but I have like 3 or 4 house shirts that I wear when I'm bumming around with my husband. Oh crap, I wasn't supposed to use this. Okay, sorry, my bad. This isn't old school, but I just accidentally picked it up out of habit. Anyway, hope you guys don't judge me on this shirt. It's covered in dog hair, it's covered in powder now, but when I do my makeup, like, I do not wear clothes that I care about because I'm just a messy worker, and I'm gonna get eyeshadow and foundation and concealer and bronzer and all that good stuff all over my clothes. I'm gonna take Costa Riche eyeliner from MAC, which used to be like my favorite eyeliner in the world, and I'm just gonna start smudging this in my lashes just to kind of create a base to anchor these darker shadows that I'm gonna put under my lash line. I'm gonna take that dark brown shadow from before and just start really getting there and smoking this out. Just gonna kind of further blend that out using Cocoa Bear. Myself in like a warm brown look like this in so long, it's kind of weird. It's going to use this color right here from the Anastasia Beverly Hills kit. I'm actually gonna kick it really old school and use my Nars Ita brush. Ooh. Holy crap. I haven't used this brush in such a long time. Oh my god. Ooh, I have to blend this out. Ooh. Do you guys remember when you couldn't get a Nars Ita brush like anywhere? You had to get on like a freaking wait list, and now like nobody uses it. It's just so funny. I guess like makeup and fashion aren't that different. Like, you know, we all have pieces of clothing in our closet that we probably would never be caught dead in again, or don't really care for. It's not our style, whatever. But at one time or the other, like, we was saving them pennies to get our hands on it. So this brush is kind of a bigger nuisance to use than I remember it being. I don't think I like it. It's too sharp. It's hard to like manipulate around your face, except right underneath your cheekbones. Like if I want to use it on my forehead or on my jawline, it's kind of hard to get a precise location with it. Okay, bronzer, which I don't really think I need, but we're gonna use it anyway. This is Nars Laguna bronzer, which was the first high-end bronzer I ever bought. Not this exact one, but this was the first high-end bronzer I ever bought. And I just remember when this was like the most popular bronzer shade ever. Well, this one and Hoola. I halfway considered using Hoola, but I still use Hoola all the time. I really never use this one, and I don't think it's for any reason. It's just I have so much makeup in my collection now. I have products that I've bought or received in PR that I haven't even gotten a chance to use yet. Like, I got the one face, man. I do not wear makeup every day, so it makes it hard to kind of revert back to old standards when you're constantly adding new stuff into your collection, which I guess if this video has taught me anything, it's that I should try old stuff, shop my stash. Because none of this has been awful. Blush. I'm going to use MAC Warm Soul. This was my favorite, definitely not my first high-end blush, but my favorite blush for a long time. I just liked it because the color was nice, like it gave you a flush of color to the cheeks, but the formula, because it was mineralized, and all of MAC's mineralized collection is pretty amazing, it blended really nicely. It had a nice skin-like finish to it. It wasn't like a flat matte, but it wasn't shimmery either. It was one of those blushes that you could just wear with anything, and it looked good every time. Speaking of MAC, for highlighter, I'm going to use MAC's Whisper of Guilt. This was the first highlighter I ever bought, and I remember hating it because where I would apply it, which is where on my cheeks, and my cheeks right here is where I naturally have more texture. Until I got my skincare situation under control, highlighter was always just my enemy, but once I got that under control, it really made my pores appear much smaller so I could use highlighter. And I feel like this was one of the first ones that came out that people ever got really excited about. It's still a beautiful highlighter. What did I say this was? Did I say this was Soft and Gentle? Because I meant to say this is MAC Soft and Gentle. It's definitely really pretty, but it's still making my pores look gigantic. That could be because of what I just said a couple seconds ago, that something I used underneath my eyes, whether it was the concealer or the highlighting powder, something is making my pores look way bigger than they normally do. So I'm not going to blame it totally on this highlighter, but the finish of it, like the color, is still very beautiful. The formula is still very nice. There's a reason this is a classic. I'm going to take Makeup Forever Mist and Fix. I would usually use Fix Plus, but I don't have any, but this is another product that's been out for a million years, one of the OGs, day one beginning setting sprays that's out there, and it's still a really nice formula. So I'm just gonna douse myself in this a little bit. For lips, I'm gonna use Subculture lip liner from MAC, which I realized I just used very recently in a video, but allow me to assure you that it was the first lip liner I fell very much so in love with because it's very similar to the color of my natural lips. So it rarely makes it look like I actually overline my lips. It just makes it look like I have like really naturally full lips. I'm gonna take MAC Kind of Sexy. MAC was definitely the first lipsticks I really got into in terms of favorites. I'm gonna dab over this color using Flesh Pot from MAC because this is really pink looking right now. Lip gloss, I'm gonna use Bite Rambutan because this was my favorite for pretty much all of 2014, I believe. Hey guys, this is the completed look. I hope you enjoyed the video. I actually had a lot of fun doing this one, and I apologize if it's super long, but whatevs. Please subscribe if you have not. Check the down bar for links to all my social media platforms, and I will see you in the next one.